how are we going to have healthy relationships, good relationships? Once again, by the way, lots of our happiness depends on relationships. They've done lots of research that if you have good friends and you have a good community, you're most likely to be a happier person. And they did other research. If you have a job you hate, but you love the people you're working with, you're much happier than if you have a job you love but hate the people you're working with. Relationship, very, very important. So we're going to talk about the main things to create good relationships. And I'm going to focus a little bit more on your relationship with a spouse, because that, in a way, is the most important relationship in our life. It's the most intense, the most close relationship in our life. So we've got to understand how to do that in a healthy way. But whatever I'm going to say about that really applies to our relationship with ourselves and with other people and with God and everything. So the number one key to a healthy relationship, not with your children in this case, but with a spouse and friends, is that it needs to be based on having similar values. I just thought I'd just go straight into it. Do we have similar value? Do we want the same things in life? How do you define a relationship? What is a relationship? A relationship is based on emotional intimacy. Let's define a relationship. I have a close relationship with someone. I have a very close friend. What does that mean? They live next door? No, they can live in Australia. But I have a close relationship. What does that mean? It means we feel emotionally intimate. We feel connected to each other. Relationship is emotional intimacy and connection. So you could hate the guy next door, and you can love the guy in Australia. So what is emotional intimacy based on? What is connection based on? Really, the ultimate strong thing that a connection is based on is similarity in terms of our values and our dreams and our wants. What's important to us in our life? So we're generally made up of 3 or 4 levels. One of them is physical, and then we have emotional, and then we have mental, intellectual, our values. Unfortunately, and this is why lots of marriages don't work and lots of relationships don't work, is for many people, relationships are built on physicality. Because physical intimacy can create emotional intimacy. By the way, nowadays, not necessarily, but in general, creates emotional intimacy, and that's why it's very painful in the end, because you stop being attracted or there's someone else who's more attractive. What we need to do is start building our emotional intimacy on the intellect side, on our value. So when we're growing up, where do you go and find someone to have a relationship with? It's just in a nightclub. It's like, I can't hear anything they're saying. And it's just really loud music, and it's all based on physical attraction. So if you're going to base your relationship on physical attraction, that doesn't last for so long. They're very intense, but it's not actually a very strong bond. It's not a strong connection. It's not strong emotional intimacy. And people are completely using that. I heard a phrase, I don't know if it's true, someone said to me, in America they say, 2 things you don't speak about on a first date: politics and religion. And I'm like, oh, your value, what you believe. We don't want to speak about those things, because we just want to, we just want to get it on. Let's get it on. That's all I care about. Just you're dating someone, you're meeting someone in the nightclub, you're doing whatever. What's going through the mind, especially of a guy, is like, how do I get her into bed? That's it. That's what the relationship is going to be based on, how do I get her into bed? So that's not going to create a healthy relationship. And in fact, that whole society, I just read an article, by the way, the average age for American men to start watching pornography, 9. Some guys are like, I was 6, Rabbi. Don't breathe. So you've got 9-year-old boys watching pornography. You've got 9-year-old girls listening to music like, I'm in love with your body, and girl, and I'm gonna sex you up. That's not going to create a healthy society. And you've got all these like half-naked, coke-snorting pop stars. Those are your role models. You're going to have these 9-year-old girls, they're going to grow up and they're going to have eating disorders, and the guy is going to be like, well, I saw them doing that in that film, so I want you to do that. That's very, very unhealthy. By the way, in Judaism, Sex is the ultimate Kabbalistic union of two people who are already spiritually connected. And then we have the same values. We believe in the same things. We want the same thing. And then we have emotional connection. And only then we have the physical. As it closes the circuit, it's the most beautiful thing. But in the other world, it's just like, let's do that. It's a very unhealthy thing. So we want to be basing our relationship, especially with our spouse, on, I care what you think about. I want to know what you think, what you want. What do you want in life? What's important to you in life? Why would I ever say something damaging, by the way, to my children, to my wife, to my friends, to anyone? Why are we hurting people and putting them down? That's the worst possible thing for the relationship. If you really want to know someone, what should you know? You should know what they value, what they want, what they care about. I really want to get to know this person. It doesn't matter what their favorite film is or what sports team they support. It doesn't matter. That says very little about them. What you want to know is what they care about, what they're invested in, what they value in life. So that's a very powerful way to create an emotional bond between someone. And this goes for your friends as well. And you know this, by the way. Your friends are the people who have the same values as you, in general. You want to hang out with those people who have the same values. That's why you have to work out your own values first. What do you value? So I was walking along with my daughter, and I was walking her to school, 4 years old, and she saw a picture of Rav Odessa with his hand in the air, and my daughter said, "Who's that?" And I said, "He's a follower of Rabbi Nachman. He loves Rabbi Nachman ideas and Torah." And she said to me, "Oh wow, who do we follow?" So I said to her, "Well, you know what? We follow anyone who we think is going to take us towards being happier, kinder, nicer people who are more connected to God and being positive in the world. Anyone, so Rabbi Nachman, Breslev, Chabad, anyone who's teaching us and helping us grow. But I just want you to know, it's your own relationship with God. So you need to find who do you want to follow?" And she's thought a bit, and a minute later she said to me, "Abba, maybe I'll follow whoever my chatan follows, my groom. Whoever my husband follows, maybe I'll follow whoever my husband follows." I'm 4 years old. I don't know whoever is going to marry my daughter, by the way. So I said to her, maybe, but maybe you should work out who you want to follow first. And then using that, choose a husband who also chose that he follows that. You work out your own values first. And once you've worked out your own values, find someone else who also came to their own values, and then that's going to be a good match. Because if your emotional intimacy is based on same dreams, same hopes, same values, that's very, very strong. If it's based on physicality, it's not strong. In fact, have you ever seen someone who was very, very good looking? You are very attractive, like this is some supermodel. And then they said something racist or rude or disgusting. You actually find them less physically attractive. Don't know if you've noticed that. I don't find them physically attractive anymore. It's ugly to me. Racism and sexism and horrible, it's just ugly. Have you ever met someone who was decent? And then you started talking to them, and you started to get to know them, and you actually start finding them physically more attractive. Because there's something attractive, even physically, about someone that you look up to, and someone that you admire. So we look up to and admire people not for their body, but we look up to and admire people for their values and their character traits and their dreams. So the very first thing you have to understand is values, and therefore you have to identify your own values first. And we spoke about it in a previous class. My values are improving myself, improving the world. You've got to work out what those values are. And you have to be living up to your values. This also goes for your relationship with yourself, by the way. How do you have a good relationship with yourself? Live up to your values. If you're living up to your values, you like yourself. The relationship with yourself improves. That's where you get your self-esteem from. So number one key, values. The next thing, very important. We're going to do this quite quickly, very important. My wife and I have been married for 14 years and 2 months. Is it the 29th today? 14 years and 2 months. June 29th we got married. 14 years, 2 months. We have never had one argument. 14 years and 2 months we've been married. We've been living together in the same house, not one argument. How do we do that? The key is we never, ever, ever, ever speak to each other. As a joke. The key is we use this crazy, ancient, psychological, Kabbalistic, weird thing, and just bear with me for now, I know this is strange. It's called grown-up communication. Isn't that crazy? We communicate like grown-ups. Now, the number one key of grown-up communication is we never, ever, 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 ever put each other down. We never say anything harmful and critical and negative and horrible. Why would we? Why would I ever say something damaging, by the way, to my children, to my wife, to my friends, to anyone? Why are we hurting people and putting them down? That's the worst possible thing for the relationship. Once again, the key to this, which we spoke about before, is never, ever, ever, ever put yourself down. Your relationship with yourself also needs compassion and love. Don't put yourself down. I've never said to my wife, oh, you're such a... anything negative. I haven't even raised my voice. Ask her. I'll give her a number. Ask her, has your husband ever raised his voice at you? And she'll be like, never. Why would I raise my voice in that way? I never said even like, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? I'm going to take out my frustration and my anger and my pain on my wife? We spoke about this before. If it doesn't work, don't do it. Putting people down doesn't create emotional intimacy. Arguing is basically, I'm right, you're wrong, I want to force my point down your throat. It just doesn't work. That's not going to create emotional intimacy. So how do you communicate in a grown-up way? The first thing is to understand that hopefully in a healthy relationship, when we upset each other, we didn't mean to. We weren't trying to. By the way, if you're with someone who is trying to, then you probably shouldn't be with them. But in general, we upset each other, but I look at my wife, she looks at me and says, I realize that you didn't want this. And I realize you love me, and so there's no blame and hatred. We also have to have some self-control, by the way. It means you should never really speak when you're in pain, frustration, anger. Don't speak at that point. Get some space, breathe. Get some space and breathe. And then when you're calm, then you can come back and then you can communicate. You can talk to each other. There was one psychologist who worked out that if your heartbeat is above a certain rate, you can't communicate properly. So all the couples therapy he did, when they came in there and they started shouting again, he said, stop. He had a certain measure and he was like, stop, don't talk anymore. Because you can't say anything. Even if you say the right thing, you're saying it in a horrible way, they can't accept that from you. So you have to have your own gauge. You're going to get to a point where what you're going to say isn't going to help. And you've got to be able to have some self-control and say, okay, I'm not going to say. Step back. But then when you get back together, how are you going to communicate? So really, this is the key. We express how we feel without blaming. You're bad, it's your fault. Why? No. You know what? I notice, I observe, I see this happens. You know what? I notice you're leaving your socks lying around a lot. Random example, by the way. I notice you're leaving your socks around a lot. I don't think you're bad and I don't hate you, but I just want you to know that it makes me feel kind of disrespected. It makes me feel like I'm your maid and I have to pick up your sock. And also it makes me feel embarrassed because I want our home to look nice for the guests. So I'm just saying this out how it made me feel. And then you can give some sort of, can we try and do it differently? Now that is much easier to receive, by the way. If someone's attacking you, you have to defend yourself. But when my wife's not attacking me, she's just saying, look, this is what it is and this is how it makes me feel. Do you think we can try something else? I'm much more open to working on that. So a lot of communication, people just need to express themselves. I just want to be heard. Once again, for your friends and for your children. Once you get it out on the table, lots of it's not a problem anymore. We used to do something called a clearing. Thursday night, I felt like I was going to the principal's office, by the way. My wife was like, Dov Ber, we need a clearing. I was like, look. So it was 3 questions. My wife was a social worker. She said, look, the first question you say What's not working for you in our relationship? What's not working? Well, I don't like how you're leaving your socks lying around. It's not working for me. Some things we can't change. It's not working for me that you come home late from work, but I understand that you have to come late from work because we need to pay the rent. But I'm just putting it out there. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't make me feel good. It's not healthy for me. The other person can't say, well, you leave this. Just let the person express themselves. What's not working for you? And then again, we say, what's not working for you? Anything else, what's not working for you? And then once the person has expressed themselves without you attacking or defending, and just let them express themselves, and then you switch what's not working for you. Or we did all three together. Then the second question was, what is working for you? That's nice. Positive reinforcement. I love it when you get up early and make my tea for me. I love it when you call me from work. So now, that's great. Now I know what my wife wants. I know what makes her feel good. Positive reinforcement. And the third question was, what are you holding on to? What are you holding on to means specific events, specific things that happen, not general habits and patterns like what's not working for you. But, last Friday night when we went out, you said this one thing and it made me feel a bit. Or when you did that, it hurt me a little bit. Just things that hurt me and I'm holding on to. Just let me express those things. And I used to just go over it. What else are you holding on to? Now, if someone feels safe and they're not going to be attacked, then they can share. You can speak all night. If they feel, if I say that I'm holding on to this, I'm going to be attacked, they say, well, then they can't express and there's no relationship. So you've got to make it a safe environment. You can say whatever you need to say. And usually about 80% of the issues are cleared up just by being expressed and heard. I just want to be heard. I want to be validated and heard. So as soon as someone expresses something, you say, I really hear that, I'm sorry, let's try and do it differently. And I'll try and pick my socks up now, by the way. By the way, I don't leave my socks around because I think my wife's a maid. I've been leaving them around for my whole life. Got nothing to do with my wife. But I don't say it. My wife says, and I understand that you're not leaving them around because you think I'm a maid, because you've been leaving around your whole life, but it makes me feel like that. And I say, you know what? I'm going to try, I'll work on picking my socks up. And she says, and I'll work on not feeling like you're disrespecting me because I know you're not really. And I say, great. So we're just going to take responsibility and work on what we can do. A very, very, very healthy relationship. Good communication, by the way, once again, with your kids and your friends and your boss and everyone in your life and with yourself. Let people express themselves. Don't make them wrong. Don't attack them. Don't put them down. Don't be critical. Let them express themselves and say, okay, how are we going to work together? I want this relationship to work. The relationship is a partnership. This is how it's going to work. I'm invested in this relationship. What's my responsibility and what's my obligations? What can I give to the other person? How can I invest? Our attitude in our relationships, and we have to work on ourselves a lot first, needs to be not what can I get out of this relationship, but what can I put into the relationship? There's me and there's you, and then there's our relationship. We've both got to be putting into the relationship. If someone's just taking out to the relationship, if both people are taking out, that's a big problem. If one person's putting in and the other one's taking out, they're going to get resentful at some point, unless you're in a very, very high level of consciousness and you're just like, I'll give and give and give. So our attitude towards relationship is, what's my responsibility? What do I have to do? What's my obligation? Our sages actually teach us, and Rabbi Tatz speaks about this a lot, that in life we have two things. We have my rights and my obligation. And they're two sides of the same coin. Your right to life is my obligation not to kill. My right to my property is your obligation not to steal. Rights and obligation. Now in the Western secular world, it's all about rights. My right, Bill of Rights, human rights, UN rights. It's all about my rights. In the Torah, it never speaks about rights. In fact, there's no word in the Torah for rights, my rights. Now, we believe in rights, because in fact, if there's no God, there are no intrinsic human rights. If there's no God, then you make up it. If black people in South Africa didn't have rights, and Jews in Germany didn't have rights. So we say only if there's a God are there intrinsic human rights. So we believe in rights, but the Torah and all Torah law only speaks about obligations, not rights. The man's obligation to his wife, the wife's obligation to the man, the master's obligation to the worker's obligation to we only speak about obligations. Why is that? Because rights is all about me. My right. What's in it for me? taking. It's creating a society of takers. Obligation is, what's my responsibility? What do I have to do? And that's creating a society of givers, and that's a much healthier society. Now, if everyone is focused on what are my obligations and responsibilities, then everyone will get their rights, because your rights are my obligations. So we believe in both sides, but which one are you focusing on? So in your relationships, your focus needs to be on what can I give. And as we spoke about before in a previous class, true fulfillment, satisfaction in life comes from going beyond yourself. It's not all about me. It's about what can I invest in the relationship. I'm going to give. I just want to give. Got to be very careful, by the way, because if you're just giving all the time and you're not receiving, you can become resentful. So sometimes the best thing you can give is to stop giving. That is a form of giving. Sometimes, by the way, we give in order to receive. I'm visiting this person in hospital. Why? Because I want money in their will. So that's a form of taking. It looks like you're giving. But sometimes you receive in order to give. Someone gives you a present that you don't really want and you say, thank you so much. It looks like you're receiving, but you're really giving them the opportunity to give to you. So your focus in life has to be, well, how can I give? Now, if you've got two people in a relationship thinking, what can I give? How can I invest? It's an amazing relationship. It's an amazing relationship. I just want to be there for other people. Have to have a very, very strong sense of self. Have to have a very strong sense of appreciation for what you do have. And once you have that, then you can give. Don't build your sense of self, by the way, by giving to others, because that doesn't work so well. Watch the class about the sense of self. Number 1, based on values. Number 2, good communication. Number 3, what can I invest? What can I give to the relationship? How can I build the relationship? What are my obligations? Number 4 is that you both, and as a couple, or as a parent and a child, or as a friend and a friend, or as a boss and a worker, whatever relationship it is, you both have to be growth-orientated. What does that mean? That I'm willing and open and consciously working on this, because I know I'm not perfect. I know our relationship is not perfect, so I'm going to grow. I want to grow. I'm not going to say that, well, this is it. This is what we got. I'm going to put in the effort to become a better person, to become a better husband, to become a better father, to become a better wife, to become a better teacher, to become a better student, to become a better son. I want to grow. What home do we want to build? What do you love? What do you care about? Now we can talk about our values. That's a very, very healthy. So we're connecting on that level of we have the same dreams. We want the same thing. And then we've got this amazing communication. We just speak and never put each other down. And we're both invested in the relationship. And we're willing to grow. So I think about 3 years ago, everything was great, lovely relationship. And then one of us said, let's go for some couples counseling. And I was like, okay, let's go see. Why not? So we went to this person. We sat down there and she said, well, tell me about the relationships and the issues. We spoke about it and she goes, oh, what are you doing here? It was amazing. Like, I worked with people for 20 years to try and get them to have a relationship like this. And we said, yeah, but there's always got to be something that we can improve. So she taught us about the communication that I've told you about. And she just tweaked some stuff. And we had 2 sessions maybe, and we tweaked. And now it is even better. Because it wasn't a bad relationship. It was a good relationship. But usually people who have good relationships, they want better relationships, so they're willing to work on it. So we said, let's go and have a few sessions. See, why not? We read relationships books with each other all the time. We invested in it. I want to grow. I want this to be a good thing. So in any area of your life, if you want to be a great person, if you want to have a great relationship, anything great in your life, it's about growth. You don't become great without growing. You have to be invested in growing. The final one, which doesn't apply to any relationship apart from your spouse, by the way, is there has to be some attraction. There has to be some attraction. In the world I came from, it was all about physical attraction. A healthy relationship is not based on that at all, but it has to have that. So I speak to many people who are dating, and they're like, you know what, he's such a mensch, he's such a good guy, he's got the same values as me, he's really growing all the time. And I say, yeah, but do you think about him when you're not together? Do you look forward to meeting? And they're like, well, no. And I say, I'm sorry, you've got to have some chemistry, some attraction there. But it can't be based on that. But it has to be there. I just like them. There's something that's putting us together, especially because we believe in soulmates, and you should be attracted to your soulmate. 4, let's say 4 and 1 extra for your spouse. 4 main keys to a healthy relationship. Number 1, it should be based on values. You have the same dreams, the same ideas, the same passions, the same... By the way, you don't have to have the same hobbies. So you can go to opera and you can play rugby. That's okay. That doesn't need to be the same. Do you know, has anyone met my wife? Can you imagine what my wife is like? My wife is the most opposite person to me in the world. She's exactly the same as me in important things. We have exactly the same values. We communicate in exactly the same way. In terms of personality, she's like a grown-up. She's like a woman, this amazing, dignified, calm. Someone said to me the other day, your wife doesn't walk, she floats. You see my wife, and I'm this like crazy, and that's great for us. They say opposites attract, but when they say opposites attract, it doesn't mean with the opposite values. Don't ever say, we'll grow together. We'll see. It doesn't work. Everyone's getting divorced because you don't grow together. You grow apart. But if you go based on values, so we got the same values, but you need someone to feed the children and someone to play with the children. That really works. I remember before I was getting married, I wrote a list of what I want my wife to be. And I showed it to someone and they said, that's just you as a woman. And you think you want you as a woman, but I don't think that would be very good. No one's going to feed your children. What's going to happen? You're going to float away. What's going on? So I met my wife. She's calm, sweet, reliable, amazing, perfect for each other. So your hobbies, I don't care. Do whatever you like. But be prepared to go to the opera with them. I'll do. What do you need? Whatever's good for you. Values, communication, giving, and growth. Values, communication, giving, and growth. Now that's all you really need. People are coming up to me and saying, Rabbi, this is a list of what I'm looking for. I'm like, that's 8 different people. As long as you got the same values and you both want to grow and you communicate well and you're investing in the relationship and you have some attraction, it's great. Go for it. You'll deal with everything else. Chill out.